Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. You know that feeling when you hear about some mind-bending new AI model or maybe an article talking about big data, and your brain just goes, okay, that sounds cool, but how does any of that actually happen?
And does it translate?
Exactly. How do companies, from the huge tech giants right down to maybe your local bakery, genuinely translate these incredible innovations, this raw data, this powerful artificial intelligence? How does it become something that changes their actual day-to-day operations or, boosts their bottom line? It feels a bit like magic sometimes, doesn't it?
It really can seem that way from the outside.
Well, today we're basically pulling back the curtain on exactly that. We are going to unravel the fascinating world of data and AI consulting. This is really where the rubber meets the road. It's where those visionary ideas, the complex algorithms, and all the grand pronouncements about AI actually get, built, deployed, and integrated to solve very real, very specific business problems.
Yeah, it's like the engine room.
It absolutely is the engine room of the AI revolution. And understanding how it works is, I think, absolutely key to grasping the future of business across pretty much every sector imaginable.
And that's precisely our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
Our goal today is to unpack the immense global market opportunity that data and AI consulting truly represents. We want to identify not just that companies are buying these services, but who within those organizations is actually making these critical decisions.
Right, because it's not just one person.
Exactly. As you alluded to, it's rarely a single person signing the check. We'll also try to demystify the different ways these crucial projects are structured, from short-term, highly focused solutions all the way to long-term strategic partnerships.
Okay.
And we'll even delve into how these services are priced, which honestly often reveals a lot about how value is perceived and delivered in this really rapidly evolving landscape.
That's interesting.
Ultimately, we want to give you a clear, comprehensive understanding of this field, helping you see where the true value lies and how AI and data are genuinely transforming industries through expert strategic guidance.
Fantastic. And just so you know, all the insights we're sharing with you today come from a really robust set of source materials. It's almost like getting a masterclass in how AI and data are fundamentally reshaping industries through expert consultation and strategic implementation. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We've established this field as dynamic, it's important, but just how enormous is this market? And maybe even more importantly, how fast is it really growing?
Yeah.
Because when you start looking at the numbers, they're not just big, they're truly staggering, almost hard to believe.
They really are.
According to our sources, like Statista and McKinsey, the global AI market as a whole is valued at a colossal $196 billion as of this year, 2024. That's already a massive sum to begin with, right?
Huge baseline. But here's where it gets really interesting, and frankly, a bit mind-bending. This isn't just a large market, it's genuinely explosive. The market is projected to grow at a compound annual growth rate, a KGR of an astonishing 37.3%.
Wow, 37%.
37.3%.
Yeah.
What does that mean in practical terms for you listening? It means that by 2030, so in just 6 short years from now, that $196 billion valuation, it's expected to skyrocket to a whopping $1.81 trillion.
Trillion, it's just...
Yeah, exactly. Trillion. Think about that for a moment. We're talking about a jump from billions to trillions in less than a decade. That kind of growth signifies an immense, almost unprecedented shift in global business.
Fundamentally transformative.
It really is. It means that companies, regardless of their industry or size, are fundamentally reevaluating how they operate, how they innovate, how they invest. This isn't just a belief that AI is here to stay. It's a profound, accelerating conviction that AI is the core component of future success.
Right. It's redefining the playing field.
Completely redefining competitive advantages across every single sector. It's like watching a quiet creek suddenly turn into this raging river that's reshaping the entire economic landscape.
That's a great analogy.
Now, within this massive, rapidly expanding AI market, our sources indicate that the data and AI consulting segment specifically accounts for a really significant portion. We're talking about 25% to 30% of this enormous spend.
So a big slice of that trillion-dollar pie.
A very big slice. That's hundreds of billions of dollars dedicated purely to strategic guidance and, the foundational work around AI. This isn't just about throwing AI models at problems. It's about providing the expert architectural blueprint and the skilled implementation that most companies, frankly, just don't have internally.
They lack the resources or the know-how.
Exactly. So what truly drives this specific consulting segment? Well, It seems to be fueled by several crucial needs that businesses have. First, there's the demand for AI strategy and roadmap development. Companies need help understanding how to even begin their AI journey.
Where do we start? What's the plan?
Precisely. What should their priorities be? What does a realistic, measurable path to implementation even look like? It's about creating a coherent blueprint for their AI future, not just, dabbling around the edges.
Right, a strategic approach.
Second, there's the absolutely crucial element of data platform modernization. I mean, AI is only as good as the data it's fed, right?
Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Totally. And let's be honest, many traditional data systems in older companies are. Well, they're just not equipped to handle the sheer volume, the velocity, the variety of data needed for today's advanced AI applications.
Legacy systems struggle.
They really do. So consultants are essential in helping organizations untangle sometimes decades of fragmented data, build robust, scalable, future-proof data infrastructures, and critically ensure that data is clean, accessible, and genuinely AI ready.
That foundational work is key.
And third, and perhaps most tangibly for many, this segment is driven by the urgent need for industry-specific AI solutions. We're talking about tailored applications for sectors like banking, healthcare, retail, manufacturing solutions that address truly unique, deeply embedded challenges within those specific industries, not just generic tech.
Solving their specific pain points.
Exactly. So why should you, listening right now, care about these colossal numbers and what's driving them? Well, this isn't just abstract tech talk or, boardroom jargon.
No, it affects everyone.
It really does. It's about massive economic shifts that directly impact everything, from job markets and investment opportunities to the competitive landscape of virtually every industry you can imagine. If you're a business leader, understanding these trends means identifying where your competitors might be gaining an edge and where you absolutely need to invest.
Or risk being left behind.
Absolutely. If you're an aspiring technologist, it clearly shows you where the jobs are, what skills are in highest demand, and if you're just someone trying to understand the changing world, these figures highlight the undeniable gravitational pull of AI in our economy. It really shows you where the true innovation and investment are happening right now, shaping our collective future.
That's a powerful way to frame it because it's not just about the scale, it's the sheer acceleration. And what's truly fascinating here, if we sort of dig a bit deeper, is understanding why this market is exploding with such incredible, almost relentless momentum.
Yeah, what's fueling this fire?
It's not just one single factor. Our sources point to 5 sort of synergistic growth drivers that are creating this perfect storm of demand for data and AI consulting services. They're effectively forcing companies to seek external expertise.
Okay, 5 key drivers. What are they?
Well, the first, and you could argue the most foundational, is the sheer explosion of data. I mean, we are quite literally drowning in information.
Zettabytes, right?
Exactly. Structured, unstructured, generated from every click, every sensor, every transaction, every single interaction. IDC, a major market intelligence firm, predicts that worldwide data will grow to an astounding 175 zettabytes by 2025.
And a zettabyte is, help me picture that.
Okay, so a single zettabyte is a trillion gigabytes. It's a number so large it's almost, incomprehensible. Imagine trying to organize a library where new books are arriving by the second, and you have absolutely no cataloging system.
Chaos.
Complete chaos. And here's the paradox that drives consulting demand. More data means more potential insights. Yes, more opportunities to train powerful AI models. But it also means infinitely more complexity.
In managing it, securing it.
Exactly. Managing it, securing it, and actually deriving value from it. Without expert help, most companies are simply overwhelmed. They have the raw material, this ocean of data, but they lack the specialized knowledge, the infrastructure, the tools to make sense of it, to extract value, or even just to properly store and manage it ethically and efficiently.
So the complexity itself creates the need.
Inherently, yes. This complexity drives the need for consultants who can help navigate this data deluge, turning what could be a liability into a strategic asset.
Okay, that's driver number 1. What's next?
Second, we have cloud adoption. Now, the shift to cloud computing has been absolutely monumental. It's moved from being a trend to basically a ubiquitous reality, and it directly facilitates AI adoption in ways that old on-premise solutions simply can't.
Makes sense. How so?
Well, cloud-native AI solutions significantly reduce the time to value for businesses. In the past, deploying powerful AI models required these massive upfront investments in on-premise infrastructure. Think Dedicated servers, specialized hardware, complex, time-consuming setup.
Big capital expenditure.
Huge. The cloud changes all that. It offers unparalleled accessibility to powerful computing resources, incredible scalability to handle fluctuating workloads. From a tiny pilot project to a massive global rollout, and a flexible pay-as-you-go model that dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for AI.
So it makes AI more accessible.
Much more accessible. It allows companies to experiment, deploy, and scale AI solutions much faster and more cost-effectively. However,
There's always a however.
there usually is. While the cloud democratizes access, effectively migrating, optimizing, and integrating these solutions within complex enterprise cloud environments, often across multiple cloud providers, mind you, still requires highly specialized consulting expertise.
Ah.
It's like being given the keys to a supercar. You still probably need a race engineer to really get the best performance out of it safely.
Got it. So data explosion, cloud adoption. What's number 3?
Our third driver, and this is one that often surprises people, is regulation and compliance.
Regulation. How does that drive AI consulting? Seems like it would slow things down.
That's the interesting part. It raises an important question. How do new regulations, especially the ones around data privacy and AI ethics, actually create a demand for consulting? It might seem counterintuitive, but it's not just about innovation. It's about responsible, legal, and ethical implementation.
Okay, explain that.
We're seeing this global push for robust AI governance frameworks. Think about the EU AI Act, one of the world's first comprehensive legal frameworks specifically on AI, or India's DPDP Act, focused on data protection. These regulations introduce really stringent requirements.
Around data handling, transparency.
Exactly. Data handling, algorithmic transparency, fairness, accountability. The list goes on. Many companies simply don't have the in-house legal expertise to interpret these complex laws, nor the technical prowess to translate them into actionable AI development and deployment strategies.
So consultants bridge that gap.
Precisely. Consultants provide that critical bridge. They ensure that companies can leverage AI's power without inadvertently stepping into legal or ethical minefields, mitigating risks, and avoiding potentially hefty fines that could genuinely cripple a business. It's about navigating that very nuanced intersection of law and technology.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Driver number 4.
The fourth driver is a persistent and pretty significant talent gap. This is a major headache for so many organizations right now.
Finding the right people.
Finding them, keeping them. Enterprises, particularly those that aren't core technology companies, often lack the highly specialized in-house expertise required to design, develop, and deliver advanced AI projects. It's not just about finding data scientists or machine learning engineers either.
It's more than just the technical skills.
Oh, much more. It's about finding individuals who can also understand your specific business strategy, manage complex projects, navigate all those ethical considerations we just talked about, and communicate effectively across different departments. It's like trying to find a unicorn that can also do your taxes.
Good luck with that.
Exactly. And even if they do find such rare talent, retaining them in this highly competitive market where the tech giants are constantly poaching top talent with huge offers is a massive challenge.
So consultants fill that void.
They fill a critical void. They provide specialized knowledge on demand, bringing in multidisciplinary teams with the exact skills needed for a specific project without the long-term commitment or the overhead of permanent hires. They act as a flexible, highly skilled extension of the client's team, ensuring projects can actually move forward even when internal resources are scarce or maybe just too expensive to maintain full-time.
Right, like specialist reinforcements. Okay, and the 5th driver.
Finally, number 5 is competitive pressure. This is perhaps the most visceral motivator for many businesses. It's raw competition.
Fear of missing out. FOMO.
Pretty much. Or maybe fear of being left behind. Early adopters of data and AI solutions are already seeing measurable, significant gains. We're talking efficiency, revenue generation, risk reduction. If your rivals are achieving things like, say, 40% fewer false fraud alerts or dramatically reducing their loan approval times from days down to mere hours, what you simply cannot afford to sit idly by.
You have to keep up.
You absolutely have to keep up. There's a palpable fear of missing out, or rather, a fear of becoming irrelevant in a rapidly evolving market. Companies quickly realizing that AI is no longer a luxury for the tech elite. It's becoming a necessity for maintaining a competitive edge, or maybe even just for survival.
Wow.
This intense pressure compels businesses to invest in AI, And because all the other factors we've discussed, the data explosion, the cloud complexity, the regulatory hurdles, the talent shortages, they frequently turn to external consultants to accelerate their AI journey and achieve those crucial competitive advantages before their market share erodes.
Okay, so it's a powerful combination of challenges, data, cloud rules, talent, and opportunities driven by that competitive fire. That really paints a clear picture of why this market is not just growing, but accelerating with such ferocity.
Exactly. It's a convergence of forces.
So we know why it's booming. But where is this growth happening most intensely? To truly understand the practical impact, let's maybe dive into the industry demand hotspots outlined in our sources. This should bring these abstract market trends into more concrete, real-world industry examples.
Yeah, make it tangible.
Right. It helps illustrate the actual applications of AI and data consulting, moving beyond the jargon. Let's start with banking and financial services. This sector is just a prime example of AI being adopted out of sheer necessity and for competitive advantage.
Finance is often at the forefront.
Definitely. The AI use cases here are incredibly compelling. Think advanced fraud detection systems that can spot anomalies in real time within billions of transactions. Think anti-money laundering, AML monitoring, which is a huge regulatory and operational burden.
Right.
And think highly efficient credit scoring models that can assess risk with far greater precision and speed than traditional methods.
Huge impact areas.
Massive. What specifically drives the demand for consulting in banking? Primarily, it seems to be intense compliance pressure. Financial institutions are among the most heavily regulated, right? AI helps them meet those complex, ever-evolving requirements more effectively and, crucially, at a lower cost.
Efficiency and compliance rolled into one.
Exactly. It's also about massive cost reduction. AI can automate so many labor-intensive manual processes, improve accuracy, and ultimately save millions while reducing human error.
Makes sense. What about another sector?
Okay, next up, healthcare. Here, AI is literally transforming patient outcomes and operational efficiency. It's quite profound. We're seeing applications like predictive diagnostics, where AI analyzes vast amounts of patient data, everything from genomics to medical imaging, to help doctors identify diseases earlier and more accurately, sometimes even before symptoms fully manifest.
Wow, proactive healthcare.
Exactly. Another critical area is patient flow optimization, streamlining everything from appointment scheduling to emergency room management, reducing wait times, improving resource allocation. The consulting demand here, it's driven by the shift towards outcome-driven care, focusing on delivering superior patient results, not just billing for services, and again, by stringent regulatory compliance, particularly around patient data privacy and the ethical use of AI in clinical settings.
High stakes in healthcare.
Extremely high stakes. Accuracy and ethical implementation are absolutely paramount. Then we have retail and e-commerce. This is an industry that just thrives on understanding consumer behavior and optimizing every single touch point.
Personalization is key there.
Totally. AI use cases here include highly accurate demand forecasting, making sure shelves are stocked correctly and supply chains are optimized, which is crucial for reducing waste and maximizing sales. And of course, personalized recommendation systems that suggest products you're genuinely interested in, like what you experience on major online retailers, making the shopping experience feel seamless and engaging.
We see that every day.
We do. The key drivers for consulting in retail are enhancing that personalization, giving customers what they want, when they want it, sometimes before they even know they want it, and optimizing inventory to reduce waste and improve efficiency. Both directly impact the bottom line and customer loyalty. It's all about creating a smoother, more intuitive customer journey.
Makes sense. Manufacturing.
Good one. In manufacturing, AI is ushering in a whole new era of efficiency and reliability. Specific applications include predictive maintenance. This is where AI analyzes sensor data from machinery to predict component failures before they happen.
Avoiding costly downtime.
Exactly, allowing for proactive repairs during planned downtime rather than those costly, unexpected breakdowns. We also see AI used for automated quality inspection, where AI-powered vision systems can automatically identify defects in products with greater speed and consistency than human eyes ever could, reducing errors and waste.
So efficiency and quality control.
Right. The consulting demand in manufacturing is primarily driven by massive cost savings through reduced unplanned downtime, improved operational efficiency, along with significant improvements in the uptime of critical machinery, which can mean millions in saved revenue.
Huge financial impact.
Absolutely. And finally, let's touch on energy and utilities. This sector is undergoing a massive transformation towards sustainability, and building smarter grids.
Big changes there too.
Huge changes. AI applications here include highly accurate load forecasting, predicting energy demand to optimize power generation and distribution, ensuring stable supply and reducing waste, and also comprehensive grid optimization to enhance reliability and efficiency, especially as we integrate more intermittent renewable energy sources like wind and solar into the grid.
Managing renewables is complex.
Very complex. The demand for consulting in this space is heavily driven by ambitious sustainability goals, trying to reduce carbon footprints, transition to greener energy, and of course, ensuring the reliability of essential services, which is paramount for national infrastructure.
Yeah, critical infrastructure.
Absolutely. This breakdown, I think, really shows you the practical, immediate applications and the profound business impact across such diverse sectors. It's not just theory. It's about solving very real, very pressing problems with cutting-edge technology. And that's precisely why these industries are really at the forefront of AI and data consulting adoption.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's absolutely crucial to understand not just the market size or the industries it impacts, but who within a company is actually making these significant investments in data and AI consulting.
Right, the decision makers.
Exactly. It's rarely a single person acting in isolation. Instead, different leaders have distinct motivations, they have specific pain points they're trying to solve, and they look for very particular solutions. Understanding these key buyer personas is fundamental to grasping how consulting engagements are initiated, shaped, and ultimately, deemed successful.
So you need to know who you're talking to.
You absolutely do. It's about tailoring the conversation to the person sitting across the table, virtual or real. Let's start with a Chief Data Officer, or CDO. This individual is essentially the data architect and the steward of the organization's data.
The guardian of the data.
Kinda, yeah. Their primary goals revolve around robust data governance, making sure data is accurate, secure, compliant, enabling analytics across the entire enterprise, and ultimately finding ways to monetize the company's data assets, turning that raw information into actionable insights and maybe even new revenue streams.
Okay, so what keeps them up at night? What are their pain points?
Their biggest pain points often include fractured data silos, where critical information is scattered across all these disparate systems and nobody can access it easily.
Data locked away.
Exactly. Then there's poor data quality, which means any insights derived from it are unreliable, maybe even dangerous. And a general lack of cohesive governance frameworks to ensure data is clean, secure, and compliant across its entire life cycle. It's a messy picture often.
So what motivates a CDO to actually pick up the phone and call a consultant?
Well, they desperately want to improve trust in their data. They need to ensure that decision makers at every level can actually rely on the insights derived from it. And critically, they want to enable AI readiness.
Back to the foundation.
Back to the foundation. They understand intrinsically that AI models are only as good as the data they consume. If the data is messy, fragmented, or ungoverned, AI efforts are pretty much doomed to fail.
Makes sense. So what kind of consulting fits them?
Consulting offers that fit best for a CDO typically include things like data platform design, helping them build a modern, scalable, integrated data infrastructure, establishing comprehensive governance frameworks to manage data effectively and compliantly, and implementing data quality improvement initiatives to clean up existing data sets and prevent future issues.
Why is data governance such a persistent pain point for so many organizations? It seems fundamental.
It is fundamental, but often data has just grown organically over years, maybe decades. Each department creates its own systems, its own definitions, its own spreadsheets.
A recipe for chaos.
Exactly. It leads to fragmentation, inconsistencies, a lack of a single source of truth. A CDO's foundational role is to bring order to this chaos, making data usable and reliable for advanced AI initiatives. And that task is often far too complex for internal teams to handle alone.
Okay, so that's the CDO. Who's next?
Our next key persona is the Chief Information Officer, the CIO. The CIO is typically the main tech integrator, responsible for the overarching IT infrastructure and the technology strategy of the company.
The keeper of the systems.
Pretty much. Their primary goals are things like IT modernization, ensuring the company's tech stack is up-to-date, secure, efficient, and critically. The seamless integration of new AI capabilities into the company's core legacy systems.
The legacy system challenge.
Exactly. Their pain points are often deeply technical and deeply ingrained, dealing with antiquated legacy systems that are difficult, maybe impossible, to update or connect, facing immense integration challenges when trying to connect cutting-edge AI tools with existing, sometimes decades-old software, and constantly battling evolving cybersecurity threats.
So what drives their buying decision?
The CIO's buying motivation is usually pretty clear. They want to reduce technical debt. That's that accumulated cost of maintaining and integrating old, inefficient systems that act as a massive drag on innovation.
Paying for past shortcuts.
Precisely. And they want to improve system scalability, ensuring their infrastructure can actually handle future growth and the demands from new AI applications.
So what consulting services appeal to them?
Consulting offers that align well with the CIO's needs include things like comprehensive cloud migration strategies, helping them move from burdensome on-premise infrastructure to flexible cloud environments. Architecture modernization services to maybe rebuild and streamline their tech stack, and sophisticated AI integration strategies that ensure new AI capabilities don't just stand alone, but seamlessly enhance existing business processes without creating new headaches.
Let's talk about technical debt for a second.
Yeah.
Why is integrating AI into old systems so hard?
Well, technical debt is a great metaphor. It's like building code or systems quickly, maybe cutting corners, without fully considering the long-term implications. Those shortcuts save time initially, but incur significant costs down the line in terms of maintenance, inflexibility, and difficulty integrating new things. Integrating cutting-edge AI into these old systems is often like trying to put a jet engine on a horse-drawn carriage.
Doesn't sound efficient.
Not at all. It's incredibly difficult and often inefficient without expert guidance to bridge that technological gap and manage the inherent risks involved.
Okay, CIO covered. Who else is a key buyer?
Then we have the Chief Operating Officer, the COO. This persona is all about efficiency, speed, and the bottom line. Pure operations.
Getting things done cheaper, faster, better.
That's the mantra. Their primary goals are operational efficiency, streamlining how the business runs day to day, process automation to reduce manual effort and human error, and ultimately, significant measurable cost reduction.
What are their typical pain points?
Their pain points are usually easily identifiable because they impact daily operations. Things like inefficient workflows that slow everything down, create bottlenecks, waste resources, and often a pervasive lack of process visibility, meaning they can't easily see where inefficiencies truly lie or where value is being lost in the system.
They need that transparency.
Absolutely. The COO's buying motivation is directly linked to demonstrable return on investment ROI for any automation initiatives and clear risk reduction. They want to see a tangible, measurable payback from any technology investment, often within a relatively short time frame.
So show them the money.
Pretty much. Consequently, consulting offers that resonate most with the COO include things like AI-driven process automation, identifying those repetitive, high-volume tasks that can be effectively automated by AI to free up human capital for more valuable work, and supply chain optimization using AI to make supply chains more resilient, more predictable, and more cost-effective, especially in the face of disruptions.
This persona sounds very bottom-line focused. How does AI directly translate into those tangible cost savings and improved processes they crave?
AI translates directly by eliminating manual errors, which saves rework costs, by accelerating throughput in processes, which increases capacity, by optimizing resource allocation, using assets more efficiently, and even by predicting operational challenges before they occur, allowing for proactive intervention. They're looking for that visibility you mentioned to pinpoint inefficiencies, understand the exact impact of AI on their operational metrics, and ensure every single dollar spent on AI delivers a clear, demonstrable return.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, one more persona.
Our final key persona, typically, is the compliance officer, or the chief risk officer. These individuals are the ultimate risk mitigators in the organization. They're focused squarely on regulatory compliance, comprehensive risk mitigation across all business units, and ensuring the company is always audit ready.
Keeping the company out of trouble.
Essentially, yes. Their pain points are often incredibly burdensome. Things like heavy reliance on manual monitoring processes that are just prone to human error, incredibly time-consuming, and really difficult to scale effectively. And an overwhelming compliance reporting burden that diverts significant resources away from other strategic initiatives.
What motivates them to seek consulting help?
Their buying motivation is quite straightforward. They want to automate compliance tasks wherever possible and significantly reduce negative audit findings. They want to ensure the company stays firmly on the right side of the law, avoids hefty penalties, and maintains its reputation.
Okay, so what kind of consulting fits their needs?
Consulting offers that fit this persona well include things like AML, anti-money laundering monitoring solutions that are powered by machine learning. These can sift through vast amounts of financial data to spot suspicious patterns far more effectively than human teams ever could. Also, explainable AI or XAI frameworks. These provide transparency into how AI models actually make decisions, which is crucial for regulatory scrutiny and legal defensibility.
You need to know why the AI did something.
Absolutely. And finally, automated compliance reporting systems that can generate audit trails and detailed reports with just a fraction of the manual effort previously required.
This raises an interesting question, though. How does AI, which seems so cutting edge and sometimes like a black box, actually help with something as seemingly rigid and rule-bound as compliance?
That's a great question. The answer really lies in the sheer volume of data involved in compliance and the need for absolute precision. AI can sift through vast data sets far more quickly and accurately than humans, identifying subtle patterns of non-compliance or potential risks that might otherwise go completely unnoticed.
Finding needles in haystacks.
Exactly. And the push for explainability, that XAI piece, is critical here. Regulators need to understand why an AI made a particular decision flagging a transaction. For example, not just what the decision was. AI ultimately facilitates a shift from reactive compliance fixing problems after they happen to proactive risk management, allowing companies to anticipate and mitigate issues before they become major problems.
That's such a crucial point. Understanding these distinct personas, the CDO, CIO, COO, the risk officer, is absolutely key. It really illustrates that different parts of a company are looking for very different solutions and outcomes from AI and data.
It's definitely not one size fits all.
Not at all. A solution that gets a CDO excited about data governance might not even register for a COO who's focused purely on workflow efficiency, and vice versa. So consultants don't just offer generic AI services. They need to tailor their approach, their language, their proposed solutions to speak directly to the specific goals and, often, the deep-seated pain points of the person who ultimately holds the purse strings or drives that specific initiative.
It's about being a strategic problem solver, not just a tech vendor.
Exactly. It's about understanding the business context deeply. So, okay, let's say a company decides they need data and AI help. They've identified the right person internally to champion it. How do they actually engage with consultants? I imagine it's not just a handshake and, off you go.
Definitely not usually that simple. There are distinct models for different needs, each with its own set of advantages and disadvantages for both the client and the consulting firm. Understanding these engagement models reveals a lot about the nature of the problems being solved and the kind of relationship that's being built.
Okay, so what are the main models?
Well, the most straightforward and perhaps the most common one is the project-based engagement.
Okay, project-based. Sounds clear.
It is. The definition here is very clear-cut. It involves a fixed scope, a fixed timeline, and very specific deliverables. Think of it like hiring an architect and a contractor to build a custom shed in your backyard with a detailed blueprint. You know exactly what you're getting, by when, and for how much, hopefully.
Give me an example in the AI world.
Sure. An example might be building a predictive maintenance model for a specific manufacturing plant. The goal is a fully functional model that can accurately predict equipment failures for that plant. Or maybe developing an AI-powered recommendation engine for an e-commerce site where the deliverable is a deployable system that suggests products to customers based on their browsing history. Very defined outcomes.
What are the upsides and downsides?
The pros of this model are pretty obvious. You get clear deliverables, meaning everyone knows precisely what success looks like right from the outset. And you get predictable timelines, which helps immensely with budgeting and internal planning.
Okay, sounds good. What's the catch?
Well, there are cons. There's often a limited ongoing relationship once the project is finished, which might not be ideal for complex, evolving AI systems that often require continuous refinement and updates.
Right, AI models drift.
They do. And critically, there's the pervasive risk of scope creep.
Scope creep. The project manager's nightmare. Explain that.
Think of it like this. You hired someone to build that shed we talked about, but halfway through the project, you suddenly decide you also want a full guest house attached and maybe a swimming pool, but you want it all done within the original timeline and budget for the shed.
Not going to happen.
Exactly. That's scope creep in action. It's when the initial agreed-upon requirements for the project gradually expand beyond the original scope without corresponding adjustments to time, resources, or budget. This can happen if the client realizes they need additional features during the project, or perhaps if the problem turns out to be more complex than anyone initially understood.
How do consultants manage that?
Good consultants manage this by having very detailed statements of work, or SOWs, up front. They need clear change order processes for any requested modifications and constant transparent communication throughout the project. But it remains a significant risk inherent in fixed scope work.
When would a client typically prefer this model?
Clients often prefer this model when they have a very well-defined, sort of isolated problem and a clear, finite outcome in mind, where the solution feels more like a distinct product being delivered.
Okay, fixed project, what's another way?
Moving along the spectrum, we have the retainer model. This is structured more like an ongoing advisory partnership.
Like having a consultant on call.
Essentially, yes. Here, the client pays a fixed monthly or quarterly fee for continuous access to consulting expertise. It's like having a fractional AI expert or even a small team on call, dedicated to your evolving needs, even if those needs aren't fully defined right at the outset.
What would be an example of that?
Good examples include maybe monthly AI advisory services for a bank's fraud detection program. The consultants provide ongoing insights, strategic guidance, and fine-tuning as the fraud landscape constantly evolves. Or perhaps continuous model monitoring and retraining services, ensuring that AI models remain accurate and performant over time as underlying data patterns inevitably shift.
What are the pros and cons here?
Well, the pros for the consultant are clear. Stable, recurring revenue, which is great for business planning, and the opportunity to build a really deep, long-term client relationship, becoming a trusted strategic advisor rather than just a one-off vendor.
And for the client?
For the client, it provides consistent, on-demand support. It allows for much more agile adjustments as their needs evolve, without the bureaucratic overhead of writing new contracts for every minor task or strategic question.
Sounds flexible. Any downsides?
The main con, primarily for the consulting firm, is that it requires sustained delivery capacity. You need to ensure you always have the right experts available to meet the client's ongoing, sometimes unpredictable demands. That can be a resource management challenge.
What kind of problems really suit this retainer model?
Typically, these are complex, dynamic problems that require continuous iteration, monitoring, and adaptation. Think about things like cybersecurity threats, which change constantly, or rapidly evolving market analysis, or shifting regulatory compliance landscapes. Areas where the solution is never truly done, but rather requires an ongoing state of optimization and vigilance.
And you mentioned it fosters a deeper relationship.
Absolutely. This model fosters a deep client relationship because the consultants become intimately familiar with the client's operations, their specific challenges, their long-term strategic goals. They embed themselves much more deeply than a single time-bound project ever really allows.
Okay, project-based retainer.
Yeah.
Is there a third main model?
Yes, finally, there's managed services. This is perhaps the most comprehensive form of engagement. It represents a full handoff of an entire function or capability.
So outsourcing a whole piece.
Exactly. In this model, the consultant fully manages an entire business function or a specific capability for the client. Think of it as outsourcing a critical piece of your operation entirely to the experts, which then allows your internal teams to focus on your core business activities.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Examples include the end-to-end operation of a client's AI-based customer analytics platform. The consultant handles everything from data ingestion and model deployment to ongoing monitoring and regular reporting, or perhaps outsourced MLOps machine learning operations for continuous deployment and lifecycle management of AI models.
MLOps, what's that exactly?
MLOps is essentially the practice of applying DevOps principles to machine learning workflows. It's about automating and streamlining the process of building, testing, deploying, monitoring, and managing machine learning models in production. It ensures models are reliable, scalable, and continuously updated.
Okay, so the consultant handles all that ongoing AI model management. What are the pros and cons of managed services?
The pros are significant. It offers high value for the client, as it completely offloads a substantial operational burden and provides immediate access to specialized expertise without the need to hire, train, and retain a large, expensive internal team. For the consulting firm, it creates strong client lock-in, establishing a long-term, often indispensable relationship.
Sounds good. What are the challenges?
The cons are equally significant. It entails very high delivery responsibility for the consultant. They are now accountable for the ongoing performance and reliability of a critical business function for the client. And it involves considerable operational complexity in managing that service effectively, potentially across multiple clients simultaneously.
You mentioned it's high value for the client. Can you elaborate on why offloading something like MLOps is so valuable?
Okay, imagine a retail company that deploys a new AI-powered recommendation engine. Without effective MLOps, every time customer behavior significantly shifts, or maybe a new product category is introduced, their internal data science team would be scrambling to manually retrain the model, redeploy it, monitor its performance. It's a complex, continuous cycle.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is. Outsourced MLOps means the consultants are continuously, automatically, and efficiently managing this entire lifecycle, much like having an expert pit crew constantly tuning your AI race car. It means the company's recommendations stay relevant, accurate, and profitable without their core team being constantly diverted to this complex, never-ending work. It truly takes a significant operational burden off the client's shoulders.
That's a great explanation. So these models, project, retainer, managed services, they really show the spectrum of client needs, don't they? From solving a specific, isolated problem to basically outsourcing a whole capability.
Exactly, it covers the full range. But with such diverse engagement structures and such specialized expertise being offered, this naturally raises an important question. How do you put a price tag on all this specialized expertise and the value it creates?
The pricing. Always tricky.
It is. And pricing strategy is just as crucial as the technical delivery in sustaining profitability for consultants. Plus, it tells us a lot about how value is perceived by both the client and the consulting firm in this space.
Okay, let's dive into pricing then. How do consultants actually charge for these services?
Well, let's start with the most foundational approach, perhaps the simplest to understand. Hourly or time and materials, T&M, pricing.
Paying by the hour.
Essentially, yes. This is generally used when the scope of a project is exploratory or not yet fully defined. If a client has a sort of vague problem but isn't quite sure what the solution looks like yet, or if a project is very research-heavy with many unknowns and potential iterations, this model offers maximum flexibility.
Makes sense for uncertainty. What are the pros and cons?
The pros are obvious. It's very flexible for client changes. If requirements shift mid-project or new discoveries are made during the engagement, the consultant can adapt without needing to constantly renegotiate a fixed price.
Okay, flexible. What's the downside?
The major con, especially from the client's perspective, is that it's often perceived as an open-ended cost. Without a clear cap or estimate, it can feel a bit like writing a blank check, which makes budgeting difficult and can potentially lead to apprehension.
Yeah, budget holders don't like blank checks.
Not usually.
Yeah.
And from the consultant side, while it offers flexibility for unknowns, it also places the risk of inefficiency squarely on the client. They pay for every hour spent, regardless of how efficient or productive that hour was. So it's often best suited for initial discovery phases or highly experimental projects where the path forward isn't clear from day one.
Okay, time and materials. What's a more sophisticated approach?
Next, we move towards aligning price more closely with impact. This is value-based pricing.
Pricing based on the value delivered. How does that work?
This approach is typically used for high-impact projects, where the potential return on investment, the ROI for the client, can be reasonably estimated and clearly attributed, at least in part, to the consultant's work. So instead of billing for hours worked, the consultant charges a price that reflects a percentage of the projected cost savings, or the projected revenue generated from the AI automation or solution they implement.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say an AI solution is expected to save a client, hypothetically, $1 million annually by optimizing a specific manufacturing process. The consultant might charge a fee that's a percentage of that projected saving, maybe say 10% or 20% of that anticipated $1 million value.
What's the big advantage here?
The immense pro here is that it perfectly aligns the consultant's price with the actual value delivered, or at least projected to be delivered, to the client. The consultant is directly incentivized to maximize the client's gain, and the client feels like they're paying for the impact they expect to receive rather than just paying for the consultant's time.
Seems like a win-win. What's the challenge?
The challenge, or the con, is that it requires strong trust between the client and consultant, and often it necessitates robust upfront analysis and credible proof of impact. How do you convincingly prove that future impact before the work is even done? Or even as it's happening, when the full financial results might not actually be realized for months, maybe even a year or more.
Yeah, proving future value is tough.
It is. This often involves really robust pre-project analysis, establishing clear baseline metrics to measure against, and a high degree of confidence from the consultant in their proven ability to deliver those measurable ROI outcomes. It requires a true partnership built on a shared belief in the potential outcome and the consultant's capability to achieve it.
Okay, value-based pricing. Is there an even tighter alignment?
Yes. Finally, we arrive at what I find to be the most fascinating and perhaps the ultimate form of alignment: outcome-based pricing.
Outcome-based. How is that different from value-based?
This is where it gets really interesting because it's the ultimate alignment, as I said, but it also shifts the risk very directly onto the consultant. This model is used when the desired outcomes are not just measurable, but also clearly achievable and directly attributable almost solely to the consultant's specific work. The payment is explicitly tied to the achievement of a specific predefined metric, meaning if the target isn't hit, the payment is reduced, potentially significantly, or maybe even withheld entirely.
Wow, real skin in the game for the consultant. Example.
A classic example is payment tied directly to achieving, say, a 20% reduction in fraud, false positives within 6 months of implementation. If the consultant achieves that specific 20% reduction, they get paid the full agreed upon amount. If not, or if they only achieve, say, a 10% reduction, the payment adjusts downwards accordingly, or perhaps isn't made at all, depending on the contract terms.
So how does this differ fundamentally from value-based pricing?
While value-based pricing is often tied to the projected financial impact, like saving $1 million, outcome-based pricing is tied to hitting a specific, quantifiable operational or business metric, like reducing false positives by 20%, that can be directly measured post-implementation.
Much more direct method.
Much more direct. It creates an incredibly powerful incentive alignment. The consultant's compensation is directly linked to their success in hitting a tangible business target, pushing them to be deeply invested in the client's success.
But you mentioned high risk for the consultant.
Yes, it carries high risk for the consultant if the achievement of those outcomes depends heavily on client-side factors that are outside the consultant's direct control.
Like what?
Like the client's internal processes, the cleanliness or availability of the client's data, or maybe the client's ability or willingness to adopt new systems and adequately train their staff to use them effectively. These external dependencies can derail even the best solution.
So consultants need to be careful setting this up.
Extremely careful. They must clearly define the scope, the specific metrics, the measurement methodology, and crucially, the responsibilities of both parties, often including detailed client responsibilities in the contract, to manage this inherent risk. It pushes consultants to be even more invested in the client's success, yes, but it also necessitates very clear boundaries and a truly collaborative partnership.
For you, the listener, understanding these different pricing strategies, hourly, value-based, outcome-based, really highlights how consultants and clients structure their relationships. It's all about balancing risk, aligning incentives around reward, and defining the ultimate goals of the project. It's not just about the technical work itself, it's critically about how that work is valued and how success is defined and shared between both parties involved.
It's a critical piece of the puzzle in the data and AI consulting landscape, absolutely. It shapes how projects are even approached, scoped, and ultimately delivered.
Okay, so we've covered the huge market, the key decision makers buying these services, and even how these intricate engagements are structured and priced. But I think for many listeners, the real burning question is, how does this all translate from impressive numbers and executive titles into actual action?
All right, the practical application.
Exactly. When a company says, we need AI, what's the actual nuts and bolts process? How does a consultant take something that sounds incredibly technical, like, say, anomaly detection, and weave it into a solution that delivers measurable impact on a company's balance sheet? That's the real magic, isn't it? The aha moment where deep technical expertise truly meets sharp business acumen.
Absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head. It is the core differentiator. Because honestly, almost anyone can download an open source AI model these days, but making that model truly sing for your specific business challenge, that's where the art and the science of consulting really come into play.
It's more than just knowing the tech.
Much more. Knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and applied effectively. The real skill in data and AI consulting is precisely this: translating complex AI and machine learning capabilities into industry-specific business solutions. It's not about deploying the latest, coolest tech just for its own sake. In fact, sometimes the coolest tech isn't even the right solution for a particular problem.
So focus on the problem first.
Fundamentally, yes. It's about diagnosing a concrete business problem accurately, and then architecting the most effective AI or data solution for that specific pain point. Our sources actually call this a hands-on exercise, and I think that phrasing is perfect because it requires constant practice to truly master this translation from deep tech to tangible business value. It is the critical difference between a fascinating tech demo and a solution that actually saves millions or generates significant new revenue.
So it's less about the fancy gadgetry and more about the gospel of good business outcomes.
Exactly. It's about seeing both the forest and the trees. Understanding, for instance, that a financial institution doesn't just want better AI. They want fewer false positives and fraud detection. They want faster loan approvals. They want happier, more loyal customers. Those are the real business outcomes that AI, when skillfully applied, can deliver.
That's perfectly put. And to make this really concrete for everyone listening, let's look at some specific examples directly from our source material. Let's focus on the banking industry again, as it provides clear illustrations. These show how technical AML capabilities are leveraged to address common, pressing business problems with clear, measurable impacts. It really shows this translation process in action.
Great idea. Examples make it real.
Okay, consider the first common banking problem: high false positives in fraud detection. For a bank, too many false alerts mean their fraud investigators are just wasting valuable time chasing down legitimate transactions. This delays customer service, significantly increases operational costs. It's a huge drain.
And frustrating for customers, too.
Extremely frustrating. The core AML capability used here, according to our sources, is anomaly detection combined with supervised learning.
Okay, let's break those down quickly. Anomaly detection is essentially a technique that flags anything that deviates significantly from a normal, established pattern, like a transaction that's wildly different from your usual spending habits.
Okay, spots the weird stuff.
Right. And supervised learning, on the other hand, is a type of machine learning where the AI model learns from a data set of labeled examples. In this case, it would be historical transactions that are already clearly marked as either fraudulent or legitimate. The model uses these labeled examples to learn how to classify new, unlabeled transactions it sees in the future.
Got it. So how do consultants apply this?
The proposed solution outlined is often a hybrid ML model. It combines that transaction profiling, looking at a customer's typical behavior over time with specific, refined, rule-based systems. It's not just looking at isolated transactions in a vacuum, but understanding the context of the customer's history and then applying smart rules to catch meaningful deviations.
And what's the expected business impact of doing this?
Our source material states a remarkable potential impact: 40% fewer false alerts and significantly improved investigator productivity as a result.
40% fewer. That sounds massive in banking.
Think about what 40% fewer false alerts really means in a high-volume industry like banking. It's not just an abstract number. It translates directly into substantial cost savings by reducing all that wasted human effort spent investigating perfectly legitimate transactions.
Frees up investigators for real fraud.
Exactly. It means faster actual fraud prevention, because real threats are identified and acted upon more quickly, not lost in the noise. And crucially, it leads to a much better customer experience, because legitimate transactions aren't unnecessarily flagged or declined, which prevents immense frustration and helps build trust. It's a true win-win: better security and better customer service.
Okay, great example. Let's move to another common banking headache: a slow loan approval process. In today's fast-paced world, if getting a loan takes days or sometimes even weeks, potential customers might just go elsewhere.
Speed matters.
It really does. The AML capabilities at play here, according to the sources, are natural language processing, NLP, and classification models.
Okay, NLP, or natural language processing. That's essentially teaching computers to understand, interpret, and even generate human language, whether it's spoken or written text. So an NLP model can effectively read and comprehend text within documents, extracting key pieces of information automatically.
And classification models.
Classification models, meanwhile, are used to categorize data into specific predefined groups, like classifying a loan applicant automatically as low risk, medium risk, or high risk based on the data extracted.
So how does this speed things up?
Well, the proposed solution is often to use NLP to auto-extract relevant data from various loan application documents, bank statements, pay stubs, application forms. Then use those extracted data points to feed classification models that predict the applicant's creditworthiness almost instantly, instead of human staff manually sifting through piles of documents, cross-referencing information, and making somewhat subjective judgments.
Which takes time and can be inconsistent.
Exactly. The AI system can quickly process applications, extract key information like income, assets, liabilities, and assess the applicant's credit risk in literally seconds or minutes. The expected business impact cited: a drastic reduction in approval time from potentially 3 days down to just 2 hours.
3 days to 2 hours, that's a game changer.
It's a staggering improvement.
Yeah.
How does speeding up loan approval by days translate into competitive advantage? Well, it means happier customers who get their funds faster and are far more likely to choose that bank again or recommend it. It means the bank can process a much higher volume of applications with the same or potentially even fewer resources, leading directly to increased revenue.
And it beats the competition on speed.
Absolutely. It provides a significant competitive edge in a market where speed and convenience are increasingly paramount. In an era where almost everything else is instantaneous, a multi-day wait for a loan decision can be a major factor for customers, and AI helps banks meet that expectation.
Okay, one more banking example. Poor customer retention. Banks, just like any service provider, really thrive on keeping their existing customers happy and loyal. High churn rates, where customers leave for competitors, are incredibly costly.
Very costly, both in terms of lost lifetime revenue and the significant expense of acquiring new customers to replace them.
Right. The AML capability that addresses this challenge is predictive analytics.
Predictive analytics, at its core, is all about using historical data to forecast future outcomes or behaviors. In this specific context, it means analyzing past customer behavior patterns, their interactions with the bank, their demographics, to predict which specific customers are most likely to leave the bank to churn in the near future.
So it's like an early warning system.
Exactly. It's not just guesswork, it's data-driven foresight.
How is this applied in practice?
The proposed solution is typically a churn prediction model. This model identifies those individual customers who are at high risk of leaving, but it doesn't stop there. It's coupled with targeted retention campaigns. So instead of sending out a generic, "we miss you" email blast to all former customers, or worse, just waiting until they've already closed their accounts.
Which is usually too late.
Usually far too late. The bank can proactively reach out to specific at-risk customers, identified by the AI, with tailored offers, personalized financial advice, or specific interventions designed to address the likely reasons the AI predicted they might leave. The expected business impact cited is potentially a 15% reduction in churn.
15% reduction in churn is significant. What makes predictive analytics so powerful here?
It fundamentally shifts the bank's customer retention strategy from being reactive to being proactive. Knowing who might leave and potentially why they might be unhappy based on their behavior patterns like reduced deposits or calling customer service frequently enables the bank to deploy highly effective personalized retention campaigns before the customer actually walks out the virtual door. This not only saves significant marketing spend by focusing retention efforts on the right customers at the right time, but it also preserves valuable, long-term customer relationships that might otherwise be lost forever.
It's about being smart and strategic.
Precisely. It's about using data to be smart and strategic and keeping your most valuable assets, your existing customers.
You can really see clearly how these examples move way beyond just the technical jargon to directly address core business challenges. Whether it's saving money through reduced false positives and fraud, speeding up critical processes like loan approvals, or improving customer relationships by retaining them more effectively, AI, when applied correctly, directly impacts the bottom line and operational efficiency.
And that, right there, is the true essence of value creation in data and AI consulting. It's not just about building sophisticated models. It's about building tangible solutions to real-world business problems.
That translation piece is everything. #outro and Teltero. So after all that, what does this all mean for you listening? We've seen the incredible, almost explosive growth of the data and AI consulting market. I mean, it's already a multi-billion-dollar industry, well on its way to potentially hitting $1 trillion annually worldwide.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering.
They really are. And it's fueled by that perfect storm we discussed. The torrent of data, the transformative power of cloud adoption, the absolute necessity of navigating complex regulations, the persistent talent gap within so many enterprises, and that relentless pressure of competition. It's a truly dynamic and absolutely crucial sector shaping the future of business across the entire globe.
And we've also learned just how vital it is to understand those buyer personas. From the chief data officer, who's focused on foundational data governance and readiness, to the chief information officer battling technical debt and trying to integrate systems seamlessly.
Right, and the chief operating officer who's relentlessly chasing operational efficiency and cost savings, and the compliance or risk officer whose main goal is mitigating risks and staying audit ready.
Exactly. Your pitch, your proposed solution, your entire value proposition as a consultant has to align precisely with their specific role, their unique pain points, and their distinct motivations for investing in AI and data in the first place. It's fundamentally about speaking their language and solving their specific problem.
And we've delved into the various ways this consulting work actually gets done in practice, whether it's a tightly defined fixed scope, project-based engagement for a very specific problem, or maybe an ongoing retainer model for continuous advisory and support as things evolve, or even full managed services where the consultant essentially takes over an entire business function.
Right, the engagement model has to be strategically chosen to perfectly fit the client's specific needs, the complexity of the project at hand, and the desired depth and length of the partnership. It's definitely never a one-size-fits-all approach in consulting.
Not at all. And finally, we explore the art of valuation, how pricing strategies work, from the basic flexibility of hourly rates to the much more powerful alignment you get with value-based and particularly outcome-based models. These are all designed to align incentives with the value delivered and manage the shared risk between the consultant and the client.
And perhaps most critically, running through all of this, we reinforced how fundamental it is for consultants to translate those complex, sometimes intimidating AI capabilities into clear, tangible business value that addresses real-world problems. That ability to effectively bridge the technical and the practical is really the cornerstone of successful data and AI consulting.
Absolutely. The translation is key.
So, considering how rapidly this entire landscape is evolving, with new regulations emerging constantly, technological breakthroughs happening almost daily, it feels like, here's a thought to leave you with. What new pain points do you foresee companies facing in the next, say, 3 to 5 years as AI becomes even more embedded?
Interesting question.
And perhaps even more intriguing, what kinds of entirely new AI and data consulting services might emerge specifically to address those future challenges? What does the next wave of consulting look like in this space?
That's a fantastic thought to leave you all with, sparking hopefully even more curiosity about this incredibly dynamic and truly impactful field. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.